Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals, and faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later. You owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome. This is the time for the second part of the two-parters of the Weekend Warriors. We've had the Formula Fords at Lime Rock. Now, it's time for the SRF, the Ford Spec racers, as we head to the Nordschleife, the iconic circuit. Oh, talk about chalk and cheese in track size from one series to another. The big rig returns. Big action undoubtedly on the big circuit. I am Tim Cox. We've got Lewis Araya in the virtual production trailer. Right now, I'm joined as always by Charles Michel. Charles. Oh, this is going to be. Well, I say it's going to be a long one. In fact, it's only going to be what, 5 laps? Just 5 laps.
Yeah, it's just it's a quick 5-lap race. Now it's going to take them about a little under 8 minutes to do a lap. Because we've got a 21-kilometer layout that they're going to have to deal with today, and 100 and something corners. I can't even count them all. Don't know all the names, so if we just say, hey, they're going through the corner, take your pick. I don't know, but obviously this is the most difficult race that most iRacers have to deal with yearly, especially if you run the 24. This track is it's a monster. And it takes, there's very little time to even blink or think about what's going on. You just got to be fully focused on the entire lap, which is what makes it so difficult. Also, what makes it so rewarding when you set some good times and you end up with good results.
Well, I wouldn't know about those latter two, but I can tell you, it's like you say, it requires ultimate focus. Just keep it on the track. That's going to bank you a decent result here today. And well, let's just have a quick look at the championship standings before we get proceedings fully underway. Qualifying is ongoing at the moment. There's still got 10 minutes left in that, and it's Marco Pinero who's just become, well, it's just so dominant, and it's really showing in the point standings. Of course, see this matters. We've only had 7 races with Pinero for the full 9. Hence why he has a massive margin of 859 versus 643. That's some miles. That's 216 points. That's pretty much looking like he's going to be champion for this season. It's the Italian Felix Miles, in second. Then it's Dantas in third, who's closing the gap up quite a bit right now. It's Bernie Sands at 34 points, and Dandalo fourth, and it's Green fifth by Schuzel, Plever, Bavini, Renders, and Jakeson to run out that top 10. And in fact, to last stage, that top 10 is getting very tight as we close out the season. It's Spec 2, it's Alan McCain who leads the way by a healthy margin, but not quite as healthy as we had in Spec 1. It's only 99 points. Wow. Gary Allbolt in second, and then Ian Gibson started to nip at his tail. That's going to be close to round out the season. That could be one to really watch out for. Philip Berry fourth, and it's Paul Jackson in fifth, and gap starting to open up, and then it gets tight again with Montgomery, Clopert, Faglini, Simpkins, and Justice separated by 60 points across those 5 places. Into Masters class, well, Masters by name, and certainly by nature. Kurt Nunes leading the way over Tom Gradwell. Then it's Adam Bradshaw with 4 points, just separating those latter two. Murakami 10 points behind in fourth. Then it's Yorkmani 7 points. He's only 7 points behind Murakami, who has only Mitchell only 4 points behind, who has 4 points He's ahead of Jim Brewster in 7th. And then a big gap of, well, nearly 100 points back to Bob Kern, then Longin and Cathcart to round out that top 10. It is tight as you like in Masters category. Well, let's get stuck into qualifying. Of course, we've got 40 minutes of racing coming for you. The drivers will need to make a stop as always. If you're new to this season, welcome along. Where have you been? It is an epic series. As mentioned earlier, big grid, big action. Well, if you're seasoned stalwarts of this series, great to have you back in once as always. And well, Panera, we were saying before the show, weren't we, Charles, just how close Samouth and Panera were. And then Panera goes and sticks in a better lap whilst we've been chatting away and opens that gap out to nearly a second.
Yeah.
Well, apologies, 1.8.
Yeah, it's 1.8,
Yes.
which seems like a lot, but you know, when it's a 7-minute and 44-second lap, it's really just kind of a couple of tenths off some corners, and you're right there. So, it seems like a big gap, but I don't think that once we get into the race, it's going to be just him far and away. Of course, we said that before, and he's had races where he's just been completely dominant. But this track has a way of equalizing drivers, even though, you know, even if the I rating gap, which is, you know, the way that drivers race against their peers in their finishing positions, that's kind of how that's all calculated. This track requires you can have a low I rating but just be blisteringly quick at this track, because this is the track that you love. This is the track you love to drive, and this is the track that you're good at. So you kind of throw I rating out the window a bit when you get here, and it's basically all about those lap times.
I could make some analogy there from witty banter about isn't always about the lap time zone qualifying.
It is, but it's you know, it's track knowledge and it's track time, right? Obviously, you only get better when you drive a track. You know, as you drive, you get better and better. You learn the lines, you learn what the car's capable of, and this track just accentuates that much more because it's so massive.
Well, so far, to set times, 28 drivers. Which isn't bad going, really, is it? Since we're looking like, you know, well into the 30s. There's about 10 drivers yet to set times here at the Nordschleife in the SRF Weekend Warriors. And that's why we've got a bit of time here. As mentioned to one of our sponsors, Apex Racing Academy, if you want to go faster on track, with data pack setups, track guides, and much more for road and oval racing. We also have coaching sessions and one-on-one coaching sessions with some of the top pros on iRacing. So make sure you check those guys out if you want to go faster on track. So what's hard to tell who's actually going quicker with so many sectors here, Charles? It's not like what I've just had at Lime Rock, you know, talking about 45-second lap, even in the Formula Fords. 3 sectors, nice and easy to, you know, keep on top of. Here, a little bit different, isn't it? It's a lot more challenging for us, as well, quite a few drivers hoping to improve, but you never quite know, because all it takes is one mistake and you lose a lot of time around here, especially with those walls being so close to the edge of the track.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it doesn't take much. It's just one bad corner, and it's generally day done, because these Armcos are very very damaging to these cars. And you know, these cars, I mean, I think these cars are pretty well I would say pretty close to the maximum pace. But I mean, there's not really a lot of what I would say slow corners here, as far as where you've got to just really get on the binders and slow down to a slow pace. I think it's a pretty nice flowing track, so you're always trying to keep the momentum in the car. So these guys are running, you know, 60% of their fastest pace plus for almost the entire race, or the entire, as we see a little spin in Tear Garden. Stephen Mitchell.
That's what he thinks of that one.
Yeah, yep. So that's the end of that. And there you go. And it's just as you said, it just takes one mistake and you ruined your lap, and that was like 2 corners from the end of the lap. So that's reset, and at this point, I I don't know. I had to wait and see what Mr. Stevie Ray did, if he's got this so that qualifying carries until all the cars are off the track. And see.
Well, that was, as we saw, the mistake there. Obviously, Devin Kelleher, he's got promoted. He's moved up into 5th place from 6th, ahead of Simon Mayer. So not all done and dusted. We see the 19.9 there, but it's only the 399, but it doesn't quite fit on his car. With Joshua Justice, head down the Dottinger, and if he's left it in cruise control, he's gone off, made himself a brew. He'll come back in about half an hour, and he'll be at the end of it.
There you go.
Just the scale of this place, isn't it? Because it's
crazy.
Still going now. What I'm fascinated to see here, Charles, we've seen it season after season when we have visited this track, is that the slipstream. These cars love to slipstream. And it's coming down the Dottinger, as we've just seen there, when they're in a big pack, and they're all chopping and changing their free wide. It's, I know we talk about like the NASCAR analogies, but it's so true around this circuit, because you've got, it's trying to pick which line, like the high line, the low line, the middle line, which one's faster. Everyone's pushing and shoving to push that line ahead and get lines working, and you can see people pass people and then get overtaken again by the person they've just passed. It's fascinating to watch.
It really is. Yeah, I was watching the early part of qualifying as they were out on their out lap, and there was basically a train of about 10 of them going down the Dottinger. And the first guy gets basically overlapped by the 2 or 3 cars behind them, but then the 4th car stays in that line. So now you've got a 2 wide pack, and then it becomes a 3 wide as you're coming across under the bridge. And it's like, okay, so now it's a game of chicken. As you come down the Tier Garden, who's going to be the last of the late breakers? And so, yeah, this is going to be a really, as I say this every week, a really interesting race, but it truly is, because this, like I said, this is the probably one of the top, 3, 4 iconic tracks in the planet. So
that's a controversial statement, but
yeah, it really is.
I would have to agree with you in terms of recognizability. For me, it's right up there with, I would say, the Corkscrew at Long Beach.
Mm-hmm.
As just iconic, well, I would say corners, but I mean, this place is just the whole place. All, was it 12, 15 miles of the place? It's just so iconic for everywhere you turn, and the graffiti on the track. And think about all the racing that used to happen here back in the day. I mean, it still does, of course, but think of when F1 used to come here, and those guys had some kahunas to hustle an open wheel car with no seat belts in and no safety, no catch fencing whatsoever, just trees all around you, and hustling those cars along at 160, 170 miles an hour. Wow.
So for those who just go back and watch the movie Rush, there's a lot of historical video that's implanted in that from back in the 70s when F1 actually raced here. If you want to see some guys that were, the ultimate as far as bravery at a racetrack, that was
it. It was an absolute cracking film, that. Absolutely cracking film.
Absolutely.
Like you say, to bring back that history as well, and it just really goes to show how far things have come, really.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so if I'm going back, we go back to the Le Mans is probably the most popular of the what we would call the big endurance races, but I think this is the most difficult by far. I mean, it's not even close.
When you think about Le Mans, realistically, there's not that for the size of the place. I mean, it is a big old circuit, when all said and done. There's not really that many corners.
No, I think it's more. I think it's more of a. It's more difficult for the equipment, but I think this is more difficult for the driver, and I think that's what makes this the best endurance race of the year.
I don't know if it was Sam Fitzpatrick, who'd definitely not say the Daytona 24. He does not like that track or that race whatsoever.
I mean, I get it. I get it, but it's still one of those. It's still one of those iconic races because just the history. Just like Sebring. I mean, Sebring is. I think Sebring probably more difficult than Daytona, to be fair. Even though it's only a 12-hour race, just because it actively tries to shake all the bones out of your body as you're driving it. So,
wow. Back to two old men rambling about the past and the good old days.
The good old days.
The good old days. Monaco Pinero looking like he's going to take provisional pole. Looking at the take provision, he's going to take pole. 7:44 dead. So close to being to the 7:43s. That's a big margin over Felix Samaus. And then just look at the gap then back. It's another 1.8 seconds back to Pellegrini, who's no slouch whatsoever himself, and Jason Green in there too. Darren Kelleher, for a Spec 2 driver, that is an astounding result for him to get it up.
Very good lap.
Murakami, top of the qualifiers in Masters. To be fair, inside the top 10, and many may argue as well. Still, still had a chance to possibly even have got higher. I mean, he's not only 4 attempts, behind Torelli. Great to see have Sergio Torelli back. I haven't seen that name in a little while. Always runs strong as the Argentine. Thomas Renders is only then a further 10th in front of him, with then Overstreet only 2 tenths in front of them. So that's 7th through to 10th. Those 4 cars covered by not a lot of time, 7 tenths in fact, between the whole lot of them. There's going to be a few drivers out for a little redemption as well after the Formula 4s earlier on. Not running the best of races. Overstreet being one, Mayer being another. Murakami didn't have the best of times as well himself, so another one out for a little bit of redemption as Mayer just goes third right at the depth there. That was a lovely little lap to just pop in there, and 300ths of a second quicker than Pellegrini. Those two will share row 2 as things stand at the moment.
Yeah, it was a great lap. You get it right in there, top 3. As we see Overstreet, we may be here talking for a while because we're still. This is like the overflow on the qualifying, which may last another 3 or 4 minutes as we see Overstreet coming down. Where is she on the track? Oh yeah, yep. She's in the S's before I think the Kleiner Carousel, I believe is what I'm seeing here. Yep.
It's well spotted, Charles. I thought she was much earlier in the circuit, so there we go. There we go. There it is, the mini carousel. Dip it in, dip it out. And a bit damage to the rear as well.
Yeah.
That won't help again down the jump. Feathers in, wrestles with the steering wheel as well.
Yeah, I know Megan is looking to have a really good race. She started off great last week, and it just kind of fell apart at the end. It ran out of fuel. Tried to save, so lost a lot of time. She was in for a podium, and it just didn't work out for her. So I know she wants to try and redeem herself this week.
Stan Dossinger. Take a little bit of a while past where you come on for the track days. So this is technically actually a public road as well. Fascinating stuff. I mean, the fact that this place is technically a public road. Well, it's a toll road, effectively, because you have to pay a toll to actually get out on track. So
that is correct. Yep. Yeah. So it's a toll road, but I think as I was talking with Luis earlier, he's looking to enjoy this later this year in real life, which is going to be awesome. I'm going to live vicariously through him until I get my chance to go over. Hopefully, maybe next year. I don't know. I've got so much stuff going on. But there'll be a European vacation coming up, I'm sure, at some point.
Yeah, that'll be a lovely one explaining to your dear wife. Oh, yeah, we're going to a bit of a forest in Germany for a few days. You can just go for a wander. There's nothing much around the area, but I'm just going to a toll road because I'm a fan.
I assure you, Tim, my ex-wife will not care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that, oh, Mukabe moving up his way, but I'm guessing ex-wife, she will become your ex-wife because you've left her while you've
Oh no,
disappeared off.
she's already currently my ex-wife. So
Oh, there
yeah.
we go.
Yep.
Say no more.
Yep.
Been there, done it. Got the t-shirt. Now they're feeling very well.
Yeah,
Overstreet, Overstreet up into this. Yes, no, it was Murakami. Apologies, it was around that
That was
area.
Murakami. Yep. P8.
Yeah, it's a solid lap from him. Of course, he was 10th, and that now puts him with obviously Overstreet not improving. Actually, I tell you what, he was only 700 slower than Overstreet, so he nearly snatched 7th place there. Would have improved on in terms of the road, but would have put him on the inside come the start as Bob Kern closing out his lap. Really deep into overtime here in qualifying, and he's going to be the last car. I was about to say the first car. Should be the last car across the line. Should be Bob Kern. Let's get that one down. And there we go. He is across the line. Does he improve? No. Is the answer to that one. A lot of waiting. For no change there. Bob Kern, have a word with yourself, my friend. No, only joking. But no, he started 26th place. He's going to share a row with Gianni Longin. Team Masters drivers starting alongside one another as we're going to be pretty much done and dusted with qualifying. I'm just going to wait to transition across into the race session. We'll be racing 40 minutes of racing. And, well, we get to find out who has come up on top. Who's in the master of the Nordschleife taken victory here today. Money's got to be for me on Marco Panera. Realistically, the form that guy is in is just frightening. It almost should be illegal. It is that good at the moment.
It would be hard.
His voice with numerous alerts to say the least. Upshift, downshift, overrun of alerts, corner entry and exit speed. So name just but a few. You can go faster for speed of voice. Make sure you head across to racevoice.com to find out more about them and their brilliant software for iRacing. As well. Can just how far, much further has he got around now? He's going to be about half. No, he's not even halfway around, is he, Charles? He's a third of the way around now. He's taking his time.
Yeah, I think.
I
think when we get to the straightaway going up the mountain, I think is about the halfway point of this track. So he's almost there as he's going across the bridges here.
I say tricky part of the circuit. It's this corner here. The elevation change is frightening, and it feels like.
There we go.
There we go. iRacing said, "No, Bob, you've had enough. You've had too long, mate.
Yep.
That's it. That's qualified done. That's it. You've had your chance." Because now it's time to form up a grid here from the Nordschleife. Marco Pedero starts on par with Felix Miles, joining him on the front row of one. Oh, you're behind the Porsche 911 safety car there. A better safety car to have than a Porsche at the Nordschleife in Germany. Simon Mayer, he's got Pellegrini for company on the row 2. Row 3, Cease Green and Dathan Kelleher. Like the top qualifier in Spec 2. Make it row 3. Row 4 is Overstreet, and top qualifier in Masters. It's Chris Murakami. Tom Renders has got Sergio Girelli for company on row 5, and Terran on that top 10. Then it's Dantas and McCain on the row 6. Row 7, Vlachusel and Smith. Row 8 is Simpkins and Nunes, your championship leader in Masters. Row 9, Jakes and Cabcart. We top 20 ran out on row 10. Marcus Burke and Fabio Scali. Rudnev has Vedmans for company. Then it's row 12 is Berry and Oxentive. Row 13, unlucky for some, hopefully not for Gianni Longin and Bob Kern. Graham Brownlee, he has got Joshua Justice for company. No, row 14 is 16 even. Jeff Horniak and Les Plaver. Jeff Fritcher has Addison Hoagie for company. Winner in the Formula 4s early on. He's got his work cut out, starting all the way from the back there. Flavio Andalos alongside Stephen Mitchell. Row 17, row 18 is Axelson and Kramer. Jones and Caitlin Pocock for company on row 20. Row 21, all by himself, is Patrick Gassler. Well, the only way is up for the Floridian. Is waiting on the last couple of drivers to take to the track. Do you think it's wise to chicken out a bit and start from the pits on this?
I mean, yeah. I mean, basically, if you do, you're basically you're just going to have to. Yeah, you just have to start. Basically, you're just going to be dodging cars, right? So you can do that, and you can make up a lot of spots that way, but you're way behind. If you've got any pace, you're way behind the leaders, and it's tough to make that time up. Especially on this track, it's just very difficult because you're going to have cars that crash, and then you're going to have slower traffic that you're going to have to navigate. This place does not is not conducive to traffic management. So I would say you'd probably want to just start on the grid and take your chances. And thank heavens for short in laps.
Oh yes, oh definitely. I mean, if we had to sit here behind the safety car for a full lap, there's filling, and then there's I'm running out of things to say realistically. We might reach that stage. It might reach my when things go really bad, when servers fall down in live broadcasts, big events. There's one after running through all my research. There's one backup question: cats or dogs? If I come to that, I'm in massive trouble. But anyway, talking about not being in massive trouble, Panero controls the pace. The Porsche 911 safety car is pulled in. Because let's get ready to racing on the Nordschleife in the SRF Weekend Warrior says we are green and we are racing. Well, everyone getting away calmly. That's what you need here. Bit of a jockey for position in the midfield. A couple of people just changing one or two places. Fritcher, wow, Jeff Fritcher's at 4 already. Jeff, we haven't even got going. Nicholas Jones, he's at 4 too. As Jackson, well, he started from the pits, and so did Jeff Horniak. Took right advice there, Charles. Let's see if it pays off for him. Let's keep up to date with how Jackson and Horniak are getting on.
I think Jackson took your advice. I think Horniak may have crashed coming into the start of the race, unfortunately. So our first, I guess, casualty for the race today.
Oh yes, he's jumped to the pits, hasn't he? Yeah, something's gone wrong for him. Oh, what a shame for Jeff Horniak. But see how Paul Jackson gets on, and he's amazingly, Charles, 3 seconds off the back of the pack, which is Caleb Pocock currently, 39. So a long way to make up, but it's a long old race.
Yeah, I think 3 seconds is not horrible. I think you can make that up here. And Horniak, to his credit, he jumped to the pits pretty quickly, so maybe he gets a fairly quick tow. And can take his fast repair and is able to get back out and pick up some spots. Never can tell. I think Trish rates fairly clear, but we'll wait and see.
Wait and see, indeed, as the field make that way through right now, and everyone is just playing calm, playing it safe, a little bit jockeying for position. This driver, Devin Kelleher, he's up 2 spots already into 4 from 6. Your leader in Spec 2, flying high at the moment, 4th overall. Pellegrini just in front of him, and then, well, it's been these two. I was just about to mention them, funnily enough. Felix Smelson and Marco Panero pulling away, 1.5 second advantage.
Lap 3. I don't think that there's going to be any other options available for these drivers.
Well, this is the tricky one, isn't it? Because it's then good to get yourself out into some fresh air. McCain just made a slight little mistake there, but well, it may even lead this place here to Nunes and the drag up the hill. McCain drivers left right now, but on them in the background. See that drag. Dantas here looking back from him. That's Thomas Renders. Sergio Dorelli's really got away here. 1.9, in fact, nearly 2 seconds up the road. And Dantas in a bit of trouble as Renders pulls alongside. Drivers right, goes the long way round, right on the upside, up the hill. He's going to get a bit of a push here from Fleischlüssel. He thinks about it as the Cheshire driver backs out of it. It's bumping through here. Needs to be cautious. There's lots of corners.
They're going to get this cleaned up before they get to Braver Corner. There's going to be a trouble.
Hold tight, everyone. Here we go. And I tell you what, on the outside there, and it hung out to dry massively. That didn't work out, did it? Because this train just all ploughed straight past Dantas. Oh, no spin!
Oh, there was a spin. Calf cart.
Oh, I can see him flipping in the background there, but they're still scrapping away here. McCain, Kurt Nunes and Jacobson. And Marcus Burkett, in fact, is just behind them as well. I think there might have been a few victims in that one. Cathcart, Gassler, Raymond. Oh, Cathcart was at the back of this train. So that's something, at least.
Oh, got in the grass, just too tight to or corner. Look like got collected. Anybody else?
No.
Maybe there was a different incident there that picked up a couple others. But I think that was just a solo. Luckily, yeah, Cathcart just very smart to just stay over there and wait for the traffic to clear.
Yeah, he did the right thing. I mean, worked out a treat for him in the end. Worked out the absolute treat for him. He's experiencing a couple of technical difficulties right now. So producer just comes those. But I mean, not too sure how he managed to overcome that one. As well, I mean, it could have ended up in complete and utter disaster.
Yeah, so I think we're working through a couple technical issues, but what I did notice that Felix Mouse had passed Panero for the lead. And he's got a 3-second gap. No, I'm sorry, it's a 3-second gap behind. So it's those two still up front.
I'm still scrappy that way. As so many of our drivers are. There's a few replay difficulties of transitioning back to live pictures right now. But we'll say exactly what's happening here right now. Don't you worry about that. She won't go anywhere whatsoever. I mean, Devin Keller, he's on the flyer, isn't he? He's made his way past Simon Mayer too.
Yeah, he's up to P3. Yeah, he's doing great.
I mean, just watching him drop a few places as well. Just watching the drivers head out now on to towards the Dottinger. This is you
nice
called it, didn't you?
Yep, nice draft up the mountain. Takes the inside line. I'm sorry, the outside line at that point, which becomes inside line. I think Panero just basically let him go.
That's the trouble of doing it in such a place, though, isn't it? Because it's so easy with these late-powered cars just to lose momentum.
It really is.
So easy, and just lose all that pace, all that momentum, and by trying to do the right thing, just lift off and let them pass. You just end up losing. It just extends further and further and further. Although the gap, it's only 2 tenths between the pair of them, so that's nothing to worry too much about whatsoever. As what we're going to do to overcome this difficulties. There we go. We are back, and well, back with a bang. Most certainly. That's right. On to lap 2. This epic race. It's going to give all the way to the end. Now, Bob Kern, Graham Brownlee, and Nick Jones, they're all into the pits going early. Paul Jackson started from the back, remember? Started from the pits. Up to 29th so far, Charles. Back to where he started.
Absolutely.
Well, where he should have started, let's say.
So he's even for the day, and so now anything he gets is just bonus at that point. But yeah, so we did have 2 drivers come in, maybe 3 drivers. So we've seen Jones in there have pitted on lap 1. 8 minutes into this race, that's borderline on fuel, isn't it? I mean, it seems like that's really iffy if they're going to be able to make the end or not.
Well, I was seeing Kelleher and Mayer there scrapping away. Yes. Any other circumstances, any normal race, Charles? No, I would say, because, anywhere past, I'd say about minute 5, you could definitely make it home. However, due to the track size here and the, flexibility of fuel. I'm not sure whether that's enough. It's right aboard with you Simpkins drivers left right now versus Vandre Dances. Well, he was, because you Simpkins is ahead. Job done for the Dutchman ahead of the Brazilian. Also, not Jeffrey Vem's day. He's been into the pits and had a few. No, he's had a few issues. He's carrying on again. Oh no, apologies. He is into the pits right now as the Belgium, along with Cathcart. He's just headed out again. Alan McCain has visited the pits too, although I think he might be caught up in a few
Ooh.
issues. That's Caleb Pocock.
Yeah, a little deep in Adnal Forest there, which is easy to do because you're carrying so much speed coming out of Foxhole that it's very easy to just take too much and go straight into the grass there. Or if you're like me, straight into the barrier, which is how I normally do it.
Yeah, I was about to say, Charles, it's a caveat. If that's me, straight into the barrier.
Yep.
Although we share the same, similar I ratings and sentiments and skill and
Yeah.
luck levels. So
Yeah, indeed.
definitely, there's less pleaver with Jeff Richard getting less. Definitely a bit of grief right now. This is a bit of a tricky section, which you don't want to get wrong at all. When that's very easy to say a lot about the Nordschleife, but fast and flowing, tight corners, one tiny mistake, and it all goes wrong for yourself and can end your race. So this could turn out to be a little bit of a war attrition. Paul Jackson, as we mentioned, obviously making up those places back to where he started. He's 9 seconds though behind Gary Warbolt, so that's going to take a little bit longer as Ding Ding around 2 for Dantas and Simpkins, and that's Dantas back in front, right around the outside. Lovely little move from the Brazilian.
Yeah.
You name it. As they dip into the carousel. Of course, track never used to be like that there. It used to be completely and utterly flat. It's just where the track had subsided over many years, and the racing line and it became a bit of a feature. And well, they decided to keep it.
I mean, it's hard to name something more iconic than the carousel. We've talked, as we were talking about earlier. That's pretty distinctive as far as track features go.
Is that that corner more or less iconic than the corkscrew at Long Beach?
I don't think
it's like choosing between your kids, that one, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. I mean, you've got this, basically concrete pad that you're going around that's basically just slingshotting you around a hairpin. And then you've got basically you're diving off of a 5-story building at about 100 miles an hour. So it's so I think both of those are pretty on equal terms.
Equally as treacherous and as
sure.
iconic and pleasurable in every which way. So this group still continue to scrap it away right now. This is the talking of group. I mean, they're the secondary group behind this group that's scrapping away. The second one being Murakami, Renders, Dorelli, Smith, and Vlashuzil. This one being Overstreet, Green, Kelleher, Pellegrini, and Mayer. But this one is the battle for that last place on the podium, Charles. In third. Last step. You can get yourself onto it. You've still got plenty of racing left to go. I mean, crazy, isn't it? Lap 2 and 14 minutes into the race here, and driver's not even out onto Dottinger yet.
Yeah, you saw a good view of the gap from P3 back up to the front runners. 4.5 seconds. Yeah, so it depends. It goes back to these. How hard do you want to fight? I mean, obviously we're 2 laps into a 5-lap race, so there's half a race left. But do you want to push each other, or do you want to do what they're getting ready to do here, which is going too wide and making passes and things like that? So we've talked about it. Anytime that you go too wide, the cars behind catch up, the cars in front pull away. So there we go. I saw a little bump drafting there with Overstreet and Green, I believe.
Well, pushing and shoving. I think Kelleher involved in the middle there too. As Mayer still at the back of this group, and Pellegrini's going to take control over Overstreet. They still arrive too wide there. And the chasing pack is closing in on them. That's the interesting point here.
Yeah, that
And what
that
can they do?
5 that 5-card train's about to become a 9-card train.
Ooh.
So that'll make it even that much more fun, when they come down there again.
Be interesting to see because I think realistically they all need to pit together. As there's Kurt Nunes
Yep.
talking to pit together, he hasn't. He's pitted alone. There's you Simpkins too, currently 17th, down a couple of places. Did have, I think, a bit of an incident there. He came off track and sort of cost him a little bit dearly. Because Nunes, first driver, I tell you what, he's the only driver to go at the end of lap 2.
He is. He came out in a really good spot. There's a pretty sizable gap behind him. So, or there was. So now that gap's about 2 seconds. But he's got 5 seconds of clear track in front. So if he's got good pace, he's going to make up. I think that might be a good call. I think he might make up just by being by himself or being the front of the next train. He may be able to make up quite a few seconds of track time by pitting by himself. So let's see how it works out.
This is the danger, though, isn't it? Because when you haven't got someone to slipstream with, that then costs you dearly in other ways. As Greet's just dropped a couple of places within that group as well now. Just off camera, that was Scully and Trenton Kramer having a bit of a visit to the pits. That's another one stopping early. He's yet to stop. Though a bit of damage to his Ford Spec racer from earlier contacts earlier in this race. As there's Les Pleaver just making his way past even. Sorry, of Corbett team past Jeff Richer. That was a bit of a brave place. Not somewhere I would do it personally, but then
Yeah,
to play a bit safe and leave it to either up the hill very early on or down the Dottinger.
yeah. It's you don't want to be too wide through Swedenkreuz. That's just that's a recipe for disaster, especially if you're on the outside. So yeah, it was good to get that pass done before you went into that high speed left-hander, and so it was a good move by him.
This group still being led by Overstreet. There is a slight. I tell you for that section, Charles. They've actually taken a bit of time out of our top two. A couple of attempts, 2-3 attempts, in fact, I'd say, out of Panera and Samals. So despite all the hard racing that is going on, and the group behind them, let's give a bit of a check. So they are guessing away as well by about 2 or 3 attempts than Dorelli, who's
Yeah,
heading up that group behind.
Yeah, I think Dorelli may be the cork in the bottle for that group at this point. I don't know if he's got the pace. Maybe Murakami or Renders, Vasluzal maybe, or I'm sorry, Murakami and Renders may want to try and get by and take the lead and maybe pull them up to the bigger group in front.
This is the crazy thing, isn't it? Because we're such a big track. Because quite often, we're always, quicker in one part of the track, slower in another. So that is Wall Bolt past Paul Jackson. Jackson's starting to make up a few places now. We're always, each driver's faster in one part of the circuit, slower in another. When you've got a place like this, that's a real challenge of knowing what to do. And unless it's your teammate in front of you or behind you, then coordinate it as well. It's so tricky to work it there. If you're better through the back end of the circuit, but that's like 2 or 3 circuit limits around this place. And it's so challenging to know how to work this, and especially if they're not your teammate as well. We're going to see it up the hill, drag race on. Overstreet's going to lead the lead of this group. Looks like the advantage for Pellegrini, but will Kelleher follow through? I think he's going to.
Yeah, it's looking like Overstreet's doing a good job just kind of hanging on the outside. But once again, that's the corner that you'll be a single file through. That's just not a place that you want to try and pass. Even with the great drivers, that's a challenge to try and make passes there. So they did a good job to just get back in line. And so Megan's dropped a couple of spots, but this group's still kind of hanging in there, and looks like they're still pulling time on the cars in front.
They are, aren't they? They've got a bit of 3 or 4 attempts. So they've had a game of, I'd say, about 5 or 6 attempts, haven't they, on this group ahead?
They have.
Ever slightly just reeling them in. It's going to be interesting to get some lap times when they do eventually come across the line, as they're, what, 60% away around the track right now.
And I think, sadly, most of them will pit this lap, so it won't have a really representative lap time, but we'll see. I mean, somebody may take a chance and try to do it on lap 4. But that, once again, that's kind of, you're in the same boat that you are with lap 1. It's a very tricky proposition.
Oh, that it is indeed. It is an extremely tricky proposition. So, you know, I'm guessing that Glee group also, I'd say from that drop off pace, maybe fuel saving a little bit as well.
Yeah,
Maybe tried something a little bit different.
That wouldn't shock me at all. Because we've seen that during some of our other events, where get a pack out front, get a nice gap, and they'll just go into fuel save mode to try and make those pit stops as short as they can.
So it's quite green. I tell you what, he's got a bit of a wiggle on here, Charles. Look, he's pulled out a second over Kelleher and Overstreet and Co. And they're getting caught now by Dorelli, who's closed that gap down to 7/10. Slipstream will kick in now. And with the danger coming up, not too far away, they could be in a lot of trouble here. And you said earlier, didn't you, about that group becoming, what was it, you know, a 4 or 5-way battle up to about a 9-way battle. Well, it's starting to happen right now. Although Murakami just being just holding up Renders a little bit. And Vlaishuzil's dropped off the back of this group, hasn't he?
He really has.
He's 4 seconds down. Well, Pellegrini's only further now. He's put another 3 attempts on Kelleher. 3 attempts shots. That's a lot.
That's a lot of time.
Here we go. Winding it up, down the danger we go. How are they going to all emerge? Down the other end, who knows? Nobody knows. I'm not sure even they know. Are they going to close in any more to Pellegrini? They need to push one another as here comes Overstreet. She goes for it to driver's right of Kelleher. So you mentioned about the cork in the bottle. I think that's definitely been Kelleher at this stage in the race. Kelleher ducks in behind Overstreet. Behind them, it's, well, Dorelli going for it. 3 wide here, down the danger. This is what we come to see. This is what we paid for. As who's going to take this one? Who's going to yield? Who's going to back out? Who's got the overspeed? And Overstreet drops down to 7. Kelleher down to 6. Mayer's up into 4. But Dorelli from the back of this group, all of a sudden, he could even get himself up into 3rd, but no, has to tuck in for 4.
It's pretty amazing to watch. There we go. So we got some pit stops, and we do have some people that are going to gamble. Dorelli stayed out. Mayer stayed out.
Green.
Yeah. So.
Panera, Samals, Pellegrini, Kelleher, Overstreet, Murakami, Renders, Vaishluzel, Smith's in, Jacobson's in, Tentus, Rudnev's carried on. That's brave. They're going for it. They're gambling. There's Pleaver in.
Oh, that last minute. that was very close. But I did see the 2 leaders also came in. So
now, Charles, I'm just trying to have a bit of. Well, they're all pretty much from this point onwards. Oh no, and Darlow's the one carrying on. Normally, we're talking about the ones that have pitted. In this case, it's the ones that haven't pitted because there's been so few. So yet to pit: Dorelli, Mayer, Green, Rudnev, and Darlow. Anyone else going to gamble? No. Well, there's still Mitchell and Walbot, but they're only just coming around to that part of the circuit. So yeah, what Mitchell is in. I'm going to guess Walbot's going to come in too. There's Killer, Pocock, and Paul Jackson. Now, Paul Jackson did save a little bit of fuel by not taking the pace lap, although it did start on the back straight, so not a tremendous amount that he would have saved. What's he going to do? He dips in. So, who else continued on? I think everyone's, from this point downwards, they're all coming in.
Brantley stayed out. But he'd already pitted, though, so he'd already been in for his fuel stop.
So let's just have a bit of a sort out of this and how it's all panned out. So Kelleher is ultimately still leading Spec 2. Murakami is ultimately still leading Spec, so Masters. It's just what Dorelli's done. He had that great run to the line. Obviously picked up the slipstream, went from, what was he, about 8th? and carried himself all the way up to fourth, nearly into third. Now he's taking control and will be in the lead. There's Brad Cathcart and Jeff Horniak coming around. But has he done enough? Has he got enough pace stashed inside him to really take the fight to this group? And Panero's lost a lot of time during that pit stop phase. He's put 5 seconds more fuel in compared to Felix Miles.
Yeah, that's
a lot.
Interesting. That's interesting because I don't know how else to explain that. But yeah, that is unlike what Panero would normally do. He's normally one of the ones that's kind of pushing the limits of his fuel usage during these races. So for him to take that extra length of time, that's a very interesting pit stop. I'm not going to say we won't call it strategy.
Wow. I would say the outlier in this, Charles, looking at everyone else's, is that for Samals is the outlier because he was stationary for 11 seconds. Right. Now everyone else stationary for 16, 17, 18 seconds.
Yeah, so maybe Samals did enough fuel saving behind Panero as he was behind him for the majority of the first part of the race that he could take a little bit less fuel. It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see once the last few hit how much time they're going to spend in pit lane if they're going to end up coming back out, if it's going to pay off for them.
So Kurt Nunes has just dropped a couple of places behind Burkett and Simpkins. So that moves Nunes down to third in class from second as Burkett got past him. Wow. Renders didn't have the best pit stop. Well, they were not too bad. Just slow entry, I'd say, because Lou was stationary for half a second less than Murakami. He was now in front of him. In fact, Murakami, so he made his whole pit stop, all complete, including the actual stop, by 2 tenths longer. So, yeah, definitely Renders losing out a little bit there.
So Myers taking over the lead here.
I think these two need to slipstream to work together to the chance to get as far away as possible from that group after they do come into pit.
Oh, we got spit out of the too much speed going into the carousel there. Got spit out, which is never a good thing because I have done that before, and it's about a second lost if you're not in the carousel versus if you are.
So 145 there, taking a bit of an excursion through the grass. That was Flavio Andalo. And I think Andalo's lost a little bit of time. Yeah, he has. Well, Jakeson and Burkett have come on past him. He's, in fact, I think he must have come off track or something's happened to him. Let's see if he's got any damage to his car, because that's not going to help him whatsoever if he has. I don't think he has, so he's okay. Meanwhile, back to this battle. Still, Overstreet, Pellegrini, Kelleher, Murakami, Renders. Lashluson's dropped off even further, in fact. It's a bit of a mistake from Kelleher there, and I think that's just going to allow, maybe not, Murakami remains where he is.
Just kind of looking, Panero's managed to get by Rudneff. Overstreet looks like she's closing the gap on him. So I'm not sure if he's off. His last lap time is a little bit off from the people around him. So probably not the fastest guy on the track. So that's probably helping Overstreet out. So she maybe make up the gap. But it's a pretty significant gap. It's 6 seconds between. It's 8 seconds between Overstreet and Panero. So in that pit exchange, it did hurt that next group of cars.
Yes. It's calmed down a bit. I think they all know that. Right. Okay. We've got 10 minutes remaining. Well, they're going to take the white flag when they cross the line. Very dramatic to say at 4 laps, but this is the launch life when all's said and done.
Right. Yeah, and the group that we were watching as they were coming in the pits, Overstreet, Pellegrini, Kelleher, Murakami, Renders. There's gaps between all the cars.
Into Rudnev will stop as well. But I think for me, the interesting one is Marco Panero. Where are they going to come out in relation to him? I think he's the vulnerable one, not Overstreet. I think they will have cleared Overstreet, that's for certain. But let's find out together. Samaus is in the pits. He's had to. Oh, he didn't put enough fuel in, Charles. He's throwing it away. He's throwing it away. And Mayer's out. Mayer's out in front, and he's come out of Overstreet, so he's had a great stop. Drelly comes out behind Overstreet. Samaus is in the pits. I think he's. And he's come out again. Oh, his fueling will have been all out into pot.
Yeah.
Oh, he's thrown away the victory.
You hate to see those mistakes like that. He had such a great run going, and to realize that he underfueled. So add insult to injury, came in and probably didn't have his fuel set right, probably overfueled. The second time, 67 kilohertz. He's dirt tracking it around through Hotzenbach.
Right, sit rep. Where are we? Charles, you said about that group being broken up. Well, guess what? It's game on, and now it's a fight for second. Mayer, Overstreet, Dorelli, Green, Pellegrini, Renders, Murakami, Kelleher, all in the fight, and it's the last lap. Hold on. No, I think we're going to have one more lap after this. Look at where the clock is now. I think we've got another lap left in this.
Oh, you may be right, and there may be a much bigger group pitting at the end of this lap if they didn't get enough fuel to run 6 as opposed to 5.
Wow,
that's going to make things interesting.
No, it is. Oh, it is. Who's about for me? So Mayer put in 14.6 seconds of fuel. Overstreet 15.3. Now Mayer did stop a lap later than Overstreet, so okay. You can argue that. I think Sergio Girelli is in a great situation here because he put in 16.75 seconds of fuel. That's how long he was stationed. So he's putting more fuel than Green, who stopped on the same lap. More fuel. No, Pellegrini went 20 seconds, so he's a really good shout here. Thomas Renders was the same time as Dorelli, so I think that then puts Dorelli in a really good position potentially. Charles, this has got a few more twists and turns to the tail in this.
Yeah, I mean, as if this track didn't have enough turns.
No.
So now we've got this that we're going to be watching to see if we have any more last minute pit stops. And surely this doesn't make things give Samaus the upper hand.
I don't know. I didn't even think of that. But you could be absolutely spot on. There's me saying, "Oh, Felix Samaus, what have you done? You've thrown away the victory."
Oh, we were both saying that. So it's just, did he realize it before everyone else and come in and take the extra fuel for another lap?
Charles, I love it. I love this. This is all of a sudden, as our producer Lewis said, the plot thickens. and to use it as on the on the curry analogy, I mean, it's the scale of spiciness. I mean, this was never a chicken korma to start off with. It's the normal life. You're always going to start off with a chicken tikka masala. We skipped, I think, a lamb rogan Josh. I think now we're up into probably, I'd say, not quite a vindaloo, but we're not far off it. And we all know vindaloos are explosive. And I think this is going to explode right near the end because we just don't know. Are we going to run out of time? Well, I mean, has Samaus thrown it away? Are we going to have an extra? If we do, Samaus all of a sudden looks like he's sorted. Will everyone else have to pit? We just don't know. Where are they? They're halfway round. They've got 3 minutes left. They're still so close to be able to tell.
It really is.
That's why they've got 4 minutes left on the clock, okay? They're just over halfway. I think they've got one more lap at this, Charles. I think they might just have one more lap. I mean,
I think so.
I'm basing it on a timer up there. Let's see what it actually says in sim. So, what have we got here? Now, I think, right, I don't know. I think we might not have an extra lap based on in-sim time. I just don't know anymore, Charles. I just don't know, but I absolutely love it at the same time.
For sure. Yeah, it's going to be... I would have expected to come up with a white flag. I did not see it as they came across the start-finish line.
That's a really good point, that. That is... I tell you what, just the beauty of that sim racing is... Just bear with me, Charles. I'm going to disconnect from the live pictures. If something happens, scream blue murder. Okay. And I'm going to rewind the clock because, let's face it, we can do this in the sim racing world and find out exactly was the white flag out when they came across the line, because as you say, I don't remember seeing it. We were so close to what was happening in the pit stops and trying to fathom all that out.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see what the result of that is. So yeah, it's you know, as far as on the track here, it's just basically Dorelli, Overstreet, Mayer. They're still kind of battling there. They're jockeying for position there in P2 through P4. We've got Green, Pellegrini, Murakami. Not so much Murakami, but Pellegrini and Green trying to close that gap.
Well, Charles, I can't see. I've done it a few times because I'm still not 100% sure, but I can't see any white flag.
The Panero is now coming through the Clona Carousel with a little under 2 minutes to go. So I don't think, I mean, these cars are not, as we talked about, not the fastest cars in the world. But I think he can make it from there to the end. He's just now coming on to Dottinger.
Oh, that's Murakami.
Murakami off.
He's going to fall off the draft train as well. Right, that's one name crossed off this list. Weissluser's 9 seconds out of the race, so he's not in the equation to get involved in this mix. So it's realistically, I mean, this could end up being a fight, a freeway fight. Mayer, Overstreet, Dorelli.
Yeah, I think Panero's going to cross the line before the 40 minutes are up. I mean, there's still
Charles.
a minute 10 left.
Yeah, they've done it. So, right, we get to enjoy this one more time. So, well, has Marco Panero got enough fuel to get himself home? Well, let's find out. He's going to come into the pits. So, Lewis, our producers...
maybe fuel saving and lifting and coasting?
Is he going to come into the pits? Is he over?
Nope. He's going to try it. He is definitely losing time to the group behind with Overstreet, Dorelli, and Mayer for sure.
Oh, Overstreet on the grass, but saves it. But, well, there we go. Yep. We are going one more time.
Ooh, here we go.
Here we go. Overstreet says fastest lap of the race. She was 3 seconds faster, 3.2 in fact, faster than Marco Panero last time around.
That was a very impressive lap.
But if he is feels, I mean, I like what producer Lewis said, he was backing out of it. Now, was he backing out of it to try and make sure that they didn't have to go round one at a time? In terms of fuel saving, Charles, he put in more fuel than what Overstreet did.
He did.
By nearly a second. 9 tenths, in fact, to be precise.
Yeah, this is another one of these last lap surprises that we end up seeing quite frequently here at Spec Racer for Weekend Warriors. He definitely sounds like this. Let's see as we get down here to sliding points.
Charles, I know from only watching Pro Series what full commitment looks like, and that is not full commitment, certainly what it seems to from Marco Panero. He's out for a Sunday drive. It looks like he's trying to copy more of the Tim Cox, Charles Bushell track guide than something like a Jamie Fluke track guide going on there right now. Or certainly even a Marco Panero one, the way he's been behaving this season. Absolutely scintillating form the Italian has been in. No two ways about it. Torelli leads in that three-way battle of the last two podium places. Meyer, but effectively Torelli and Meyer swap places, and Homestream still remains in third. There they are, storming through. They are not fuel saving. They're not hanging around whatsoever.
But Panero's doing a good job of keeping that gap, though. Hasn't really moved more than a couple of tenths since they started the lap. So I think at this point he may be saving where he can, but it's not really affecting his lap time.
Samels, in fact, is catching him to the back of Pellegrini. 3 seconds is the gap, Charles. Now, I know Pellegrini must have come off track a little bit because he was ahead of Murakami. Murakami did come off the track and lost a lot of time. So, but even so, they're still, Murakami's, yeah, he was about where he was. Yeah, Isuzu was 9 seconds behind, wasn't he, in that stage? So, these guys are catching up with the power of Felix Samels, turbocharging them and supercharging them up into the back end of the Brazilian ahead of them.
Obviously running great pace for his last lap. Obviously you couldn't tell because he had the 18-second or the 32-second pit stop. But yeah, obviously he's made up quite a bit of time on track, which is what you expect because he was running basically. It was him and Panero out front by a pretty sizable margin for most of the first half of the race.
Also off camera, Renders has got past Devin Kelleher for 6th place. Kelleher's still leading Spec 2. So here comes Kelleher straight back past Renders up the inside there. Job done for the 67. Well, he's changing class, of course, Renders, Spec 1. Spec 2 for Kelleher. Murakami leading the Masters class. He's over overall. It says that their competition, so Fly Suso second and Smith third in Spec 2. They're 11 and 12 respectively. In terms of Masters, Marcus Burkitt, hello, up 5 places into 14th is the Welshman. He's into 14th, second in class, and it's Kurt Nunes, because that incidentally really hurt him. As Overstreet's got past Torelli, and also Kelleher back past, so Brendan's back past Kelleher.
Those three cars working together are really helping make up on the straights, making up quite a bit of time on Panero.
Wow.
It's still coming down.
I just sat there watching brilliant SSDK live timing software that we use for our broadcast here in Apex Racing TV. And I just sat there and watched the interval go 5.2, 5.0. No, it feels like even up at 5.8, 5.9, wasn't it? And then just what 5.8, 5.7, 5.6, 0.5, 0.4, 0.3, 0.2. They're coming. But are they going to run out of track? 6 tenths of the way round is Panero, and he's firing like mad that throttle.
If they get within a couple of seconds of him by the time they get to the Nottingham, it's going to be game on. I'm not sure he's going to be able to hold them off if they can get close enough with those three cars working together. If they stay together, that's the key. If they immediately just fan out 3 wide, that's going to be the best thing. Panero's going to enjoy seeing that in his rearview mirror. They've got to stay as close as they can and in line until they get to the very end of this and make the last couple of corners, Tiergarten and Sabina Smith's curve, before they try and make any kind of sudden moves to get a spot.
There we go, 4.7, well 4.8 in fact, it's just down to, so Panero is definitely cruising this one. I mean, at this sort of